And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Ben Shapiro arguing for an older retirement age. He's saying 65 or 67 or whatever the retirement age is to get Social Security and all these benefits. It's way too young because a 65 or 67-year-old today is not the same as they were back when this rule was created. At a certain point, life expectancy was much younger. People didn't live as long. Now people have longer lives due to advances in medicine and science. So we need to push the retirement age back or up from 65, 67 to, I don't know what, 70, 75, whatever the case may be. Now, the reason why this is an argument, it's a conversation, is because we're kind of going broke. We don't have any money in this country for a variety of reasons. But one of the main things we don't talk about are entitlements. The national debt of 32 or 33 trillion, whatever the dollar amount is, and counting is one thing. But then there's all these entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these things that are just astronomical. And as people get older and they stay older longer, these expenses exponentially increase. So what are we going to do to save some of the money? Extend the retirement age out? Is that a solution? Does that make sense? Now, before I go any further, let's get into the actual news clip. If you want to see the clip in full without my commentary, link, as always, will be in the description. If you're on that G, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years.
Let's pause right here. Now, I will give him credit for saying that Joe Biden's very old and he would have been eligible to receive these benefits for 16 years. And that's the case with government in general, and it's been like that for a long time. When I saw the State of the Union address, I'm like, okay, am I watching the State of the Union, or is this a retirement community gathering? What's going on?
And he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have...
Now, let's pause. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you might retire. Okay, he's going to get into a couple of reasons why he says you should retire, talk about medical issues or whatever, but there's a lot of reasons. Okay, you're in the military, you join at age 18, you've been deployed, you've been whatever. Okay, now you can retire. You're like 38, 39, 40, whatever it is. However long you need to be in the military to retire. My father was a firefighter for 22 years and retired in his 50s. But just because you retire doesn't mean you're going to be totally finished. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you could retire. I think he needs to be very specific with what he's saying, because you could retire and then still keep working. But I digress. Let's keep on going.
Have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But
what he's saying is correct about people that retire and they don't have anything else, no other purpose. Yeah, that does happen. A lot of times they wind up dying soon after. And if they would have kept working, they would have been okay. But see, people, when you say stuff like that, that can be taken the wrong way. It's like, okay, I got to do back-breaking labor. I got to go through stress. I got to go through chaos. Like a lot of people, a lot of regular everyday people work very hard and they are looking forward to the retirement date so they can stop working so hard. So they can stop putting so much stress on their back, on their mind, on their spirit, and they want to have free time to do other things. So I understand what he's saying, but this can be seen in a variety of ways.
Put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, And then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I understand exactly what he's saying. And it does make sense to view it that way, because if life expectancy was below the retirement age when the whole retirement system was created, and now people are living to be 80, 90, whatever, it's like, well, how do you really fix that? It wasn't intended to be a thing you just lived on for the fourth quarter of your life. That is not what it was intended for. So what do we do now? What do we do going forward?
That's crazy talk. That is not fiscally sustainable. The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired. And they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire. By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately? 65-year-olds are not old in the United States.
I mean, what he's saying is right, but I put it to you this way. People are still, in their 60s. They're dying. Now, I got to bring in the race element, because you're talking about certain communities, the black community, black men especially. I mean, a lot of us are dying real young. My dad was, 61 when he died? And he was a firefighter, and he was in the military. He was pretty much in the physical fitness. Now, he had other issues he was dealing with, but that's a different story, and I digress. The point is that he wasn't some kind of fat slob on the couch just doing nothing. And he was working after he retired from the fire department in his 50s. And then you have guys like Kevin Samuels. He was like right around the same age as my father. Then you have, who else? Alan Roger Curry. A lot of guys that you may know, that you may have heard of. Some like one of the actor, Andre Brower, in their 60s dying. So some people still are dying at the age that you had life expectancy back in the 1940s. However, a lot of people are not dying at that age.
They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I failed to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
All right, so there we have it. Ben Shapiro saying, hey, 65 years old is too young for retirement age. Now, I understand his point of view. I really do. But I don't think it's really a good message, especially when a lot of people, like, here's the elephant in the room. A lot of people cannot retire at 65 or 67, or people got to work till they die because the economy is terrible and they have a lot of other things going on. Like, let's talk about this part. A lot of people cannot retire because they have children still. You got guys that are 55, 60 having kids for the very first time or having a brand new baby. So you got a guy that's 55 with a woman that's 40, and then she has a baby by IVF or whatever the case may be, surrogacy. Now you're 65 years old with a 10-year-old boy or girl in elementary school, middle school. How are you going to be able to retire? How are you going to start drawing Social Security when you got a family at home that you got to take care of, kids that are still in the house and need your help and assistance? How can that be so? You're not going to be able to do it because the money that you would get from that wouldn't be enough to support the family anyway. You got to keep on working. So that's another part of it that he didn't really mention. And I think people kind of got upset at Ben because he's not looking at the reality of average everyday Americans. Yes, people are living longer, but there's also other factors that are going on. You have a bad economy. You have the system has pretty much been looted. There's other things happening. So while I do agree, as I close, that 65 is not the same as it was back in 1940 as it is today, I agree with that. But at the same time, there's other economic factors to mention. And the bigger reality is that a lot of people can't retire. And I think that should be the focus rather than the retirement age. Or if you bring in the retirement age as a focus, right next to it needs to be the current economic reality of Americans that prevents them from being able to retire at 65 or even 75. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Ben Shapiro was right or wrong with his take about 65 years old being too young to retire is ridiculous because we can afford it. People are living to be 80, 85 or whatever. And back when this was created, the life expectancy of Americans was below the retirement age. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think he made a point. He definitely made a good point, but there's more. There's more to the story that needs to be said within his talk. Now, I know that was just kind of a clip from a podcast, kind of just you riffing, talking about certain things. I get it. But at the end of the day, you need to add more into it to get the full picture, because just that one piece right there can rub people the wrong way and send the wrong message. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.